1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Just so many hours you spent on the phone, I wasted here loving you. Now you gonna tell me that you're on your own, you're leaving me sad and blue. Just so many days you've been on my mind, you been stop trouble on down the line. Fool if I go, fool if I stay, tell you what I'm gonna do. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Let it roll, let it glide, let it fall.
Howdy. Episode Tony Dorsett. That's going to be lost on you, Mr. Producer. I said that, and you just immediately stared up into the sky.
Tony, how many was that now?
Tony Dorsett, number 33, episode 33. So, producer Don Cornelius here with us today. Tony Dorsett, number 33. We should name our episodes by famous people that wore that jersey number. Now, our next episode would be 34, and the greatest college football running back of all time.
HW.
Hey, see? You do know a
I
little.
do know a couple.
Yeah,
I
okay.
do know a
If you know
couple
Herschel,
guys.
you're fine with me. So, but today we're episode Tony Dorsett, episode 33. You know, I forget about this sometimes, but our intro music by the Pine Box Dwellers.
Yeah.
Just still want to thank those guys. Now, we have had somebody to write in to say, hey, would y'all put some other music on and introduce other people? And I said we would be open. Now, not as our opening song, maybe, because I got to be loyal to the Pine Box Dwellers. They're big time now.
Yeah.
And back when they reached out to us, we were nobodies. They were nobodies. We're still nobodies.
Yeah.
And so they're like, you too big now.
But they gave us the potential to be somebody.
Yeah. So back when they were just nobodies, and now they're like Joshua Tree, U2, kind
Shakira.
of Shakira. So they're big time, and they're just like, but we remember when. But we will. So one of my friends, Mark Mooneyhan, he was actually a teacher when I was in middle school, does some little picking and grinning.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna introduce him as well, and just watch his stardom just shoot off as well. Like he'll be in Nashville in 2 years because of us, and we'll still be here with 12 listeners.
This is the platform.
This is this is where people.
It's a platform.
It's not. Yeah. It's not the Late Show. It's not any of those guys. It's not Jimmy Fallon. What's the other Jimmy? Jimmy Fallon and
Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
That's not where you go to launch. You come here to the Clay and Woodrow floor.
That's right.
I mean, Woodrow show. Now, I will say the Pine Box Dwellers, we asked them to come play in our studio that's right here.
Right.
But they just said they're not dragging their equipment up the 11 floors because our elevator doesn't always work here at the Trellis Carpenter building. We did get vending worked out. So the vending machine is worked out. I did not get a refund for my peanut M&Ms I was trying to buy. But want to welcome you guys. I want to thank our sponsor once again. Whoop, 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 whoop. Whoop, whoop. There we go.
That's it.
Our sponsor is, of course, they didn't pay to be a sponsor. They don't want to be a sponsor. But I put them as our sponsor because last week I was a little tough on them.
Yeah.
But, and I will say this, I think what I was saying has merit. I don't move my position, but I worked with those guys this morning, not even going to give names, not going to put them. They could not have been better to work with. Now, your question for me was a good question was, do you think the show had some influence over that conduct or behavior? My answer is absolutely not, because I'm certain that nobody's really watching this show. Now, it says sometimes that we're sometimes getting 700, 800 people watching this show.
Yeah.
I do believe that is just my mom just watching it on a loop. So, but anyhow, I want to listen. If I give a statement of where I think there's opportunity, and I was critical last week, I'm going to be just as fair if there was a situation where someone was good to me. And the city of Waycross this morning in a particular, and I can't get into all the details, but trying to get a business to come here and to expand, they could not have been any easier to work with this morning. So fair enough. I'm going to give them kudos where kudos is due. Just a couple of other things as by way of introduction to the show. Woodrow is in the house, and he's now looking at me. Can you see old Woodrow today?
Yeah, he's
I
here.
am wearing the same shirt that I wore not last episode, but the 2 previous episodes. So I have got to get with wardrobe, and I've got to do. Apparently, I like this shirt.
Yeah.
And it's a go-to.
And the one before.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wardrobe likes it.
Yeah. So just things have gone on in the world of. Let's certainly go through the world of COVID. I'm going to stay away from. COVID is politics, but I'm going to stay away from traditional kind of politics. I just can't. I can't stomach it right now. I'm about to get into it and to tell you why I don't want to get into it. I'm not going to do that. But I do find it interesting. Now, this is what I understand. I do not know this, so I've not certified this to be the truth. But my understanding is if you have an exposure to COVID in one of the local school systems, or maybe in all the school systems, there's a great probability that you'll be sent home. In other words, you've not tested for it, you don't have any symptoms, but little Sally 2 desks away did have it, so they kind of group up the people that's interacted with little Sally and they send them home.
Right.
Not here to argue that, whether that's right or whether that's wrong. Don't particularly have an opinion. I do have an opinion. Of course, I'm going to share my opinion because that's what this show's all about, is seeing how many people if I had to guess, if you just went through and did this whole thing, would you just jub this thing up? I don't know what jub means, to jab something up somebody's nose. I think about every other little Sally in the room either has antibodies because she's already had it or she's got it right now. She just doesn't have any symptoms. But I get it. We don't know all that kind of stuff, but they send them home and they've got to go on in isolation, or whatever you call it. What do you call it?
Yeah.
Quarantine. Or isolation, whatever. I don't know. But they could be symptom-free and showing no signs, but they're still kept out for a while. Now, here's the interesting part, because it all comes down to sports in South Georgia. Don't fool yourselves.
That's what it's all about.
You think it's academics, but I see no signs of that being at play at all in any of this. It's always sports, and specifically football. But the interesting thing is, then if they come back, now they've just sat at the house in some number of days that's been predetermined by the CD, whoever, and the state board of whatever, they go sit out perfectly fine doing virtual school. But then when they return to sports, they have to have a 4-day acclimation period to get used to the heat. Have you read this?
I've heard of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I find this to be bizarre because people have been missing weeks of football for years and years. Now, I'm not saying I know these things, but if you missed because you had turf toe, or you missed because you had a pulled hamstring, or if you missed football because you had a sinus infection, I don't remember there being this 4 days of heat acclimation.
No, that's kind of weird.
So do only people that have been exposed to COVID and quite frankly don't even have COVID and feel perfectly fine, are only those people that need to be acclimated to heat? The guy with turf toe that sat at the house for the last week because he has turf toe?
And where did they go to get away from the heat is what I want to know, because I want to go there.
Well, they know they have to go to practice and be gradually acclimated to the heat, because 17-year-old kids that have lived in this heat for the last 17 years of their life, the Georgia High School Association do not feel like are adequately acclimated to heat.
I don't think I'm adequately acclimated either.
Yes. I just do not understand the rationale behind that. The Georgia High School Association, I often do not understand their rationale about anything other than of their love of Atlanta high school sports. I do follow that very clearly.
Yeah.
It's crystal clear how much they love Atlanta high school sports.
Right.
And of course we just sit around and do nothing about it. But so that's a little bit. Now, along the same lines, a COVID report. We should have a little kazoo sound for COVID report. I got my kazoo. I don't know what kind of noise you would make for a COVID report. What would you make for a COVID report?
Not a happy sound,
like
kind
danger,
of a
danger.
somber sound. Yeah.
Oh. So danger.
That's good.
That was a horrible. That's our COVID report. Oh, that was thunder outside. So, there are folks that are on all different sides of this kind of thing, and I can't pronounce it very well, but hydroxychloroquine. I said it earlier, but now that I'm on camera. Chloroquine.
Yeah.
Hydroxychloroquine. And listen.
I'm not saying that's right. That's just how I would say it.
Yeah. And, of course, the president came out and said, listen, it's the miracle drug. I'm taking it. Everybody should be taking it. And then they got with the president's there goes Woody. There he goes. He's gone.
He's had it.
He's gone. He's gone to the door.
We're going to talk about COVID. I'm out.
I'm out. So, so to that end, and I think most people discounted that for a very good reason. But there were some doctors that kind of came in and said, listen, this is something to look into. And I don't have I have the same medical expertise that the president does, because his own physician kind of would not commit to it being a good But it could be, you know, and it could even be along those lines. There's not a lot of harm in take, but I do understand as well now that some pharmacies are not filling that prescription because they say perhaps it's not FDA, you know, certified or whatever, approved would be the word for that.
Right.
Have you heard anything about this?
I have not. I did earlier.
Yeah. So my thinking along these, first of all, I don't want to name individual pharmacies that are or not because there's probably, I don't want to give misinformation. I would want to call them and say, can you tell me your policy on this before I said something on such a far-reaching show with many implications as the Clay and Woodrow show.
This could wreck.
But my understanding is kind of more your big box company pharmacies are the ones that are saying, no, we're not filling this. It's not FDA approved. And I understand maybe more of your local mom and pops are just saying, yeah, we'll fill this because your doctor has written a prescription for it. Now, it is my understanding, I also don't know this, but I think a pharmacy does not have to honor a prescription that is brought. I mean, they have decisions that they're an independent business and they can make their own decisions, those kind of things.
Sure.
And I think they should have that freedom, by the way. Freedom's funny because it works both ways.
It does.
And the way that works is if your pharmacy will not fill that prescription and that agitates you, you know what you do? You go down to the next pharmacy, and that's how freedom, you know, works.
Yeah.
But to say as a United States citizen that I think XYZ pharmacy must have to fulfill this prescription, I don't believe in that. I think they have the individual right to do what's in the best interest of their ethic and their company and that kind of stuff. By the way, I don't want to name the pharmacy that apparently is not filling this, but this pharmacy, as we have said before, the folks that are using this pharmacy, I've told them before, that pharmacy, I'm about to say their name. I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
They're not on the back of any T-ball T-shirts here locally.
Yeah.
So why you're even doing business with them is still beyond my understanding because they've never been invested in the community. They don't take care of their, you know, their. I can't say that the individual pharmacist isn't a good guy or a bad guy. I'm not saying that.
Sure. But
I'm saying that company, I'm going to say it again, that company is not invested in this community, and they've never been invested in this community other than the fact they do employ people, and that's a good thing. Yeah. But you won't see them at the tally of people that have donated to send kids to the YMCA Camp Reveille and those kind of things. Yeah. That's why everybody needs to go to Brownings, one of our proud sponsors.
Yeah.
But I find that to be really interesting that they're not going to fill that, you know, that prescription. I think that's their right, but I find that's interesting. Now, the third thing that really irritates me, and this is important, not like medicine and curing people. That's kind of, but UGA's not going to be allowed on the field due to COVID.
No way.
Yeah, the mascot. I don't know if the reason is because, I will say, and I have only been around UGA twice before, but he draws a crowd. I don't know if that's why they're saying. And I need to do research, but if this show started doing research, then we'd be in a lot of trouble because we don't let the facts get in the way of our good stories. Yeah. But if I did some research on it, it could be that all mascots aren't allowed, or is it just the University of Georgia? I don't know. I've got to do a little bit more research on why UGA is not allowed. That seems to be a drastic step to me. That seems to be a drastic step.
Because have you heard, I mean, there were some stories circulating about dogs and a dog or a cat getting COVID at one time. I haven't heard anything else about that. It didn't.
But I don't know. I don't know if a dog can get it, and if a dog can't get it, can he spread it to other humans? But UGA's mental acuity, and when I look at UGA, man, he seems bright down there. You know, like he's just running basic arithmetic through his. I think he could wear a mask. We could train UGA to wear a mask, and it would not bother him at all. The same dog that has to sit on a bag of ice or become so miserable he wants to leave the game. I don't think a mask would bother him. I don't think a mask would bother him whatsoever. In other news, and I need some feedback on this, and I always ask for feedback. You notice we don't ever really get it.
Not really.
No, we never really get it. That's because no one's really listening to this show. But I didn't get my welfare stamps. What do we call them these days? Food stamps. The Georgia, because our kids attend a Title I school. I think I'm saying this correctly. And during that kind of March to end of May time period, that those funds that were going to feed my children at school were not utilized. I mean, obviously they could not just say, you know what, let's have that as a savings and return that back to the taxpayer. That'd be crazy talk. Right. Well, they said, let's just cut checks randomly to people who have kids in the school system, which I think is a horrible idea. But if everybody's getting food stamps, I signed up for mine. Hadn't got them.
Why not?
And all my friends, so I'm asking, I believe you have received yours.
Yes.
Correct.
That's correct.
We have not received ours. And it was like $206 per kid. Is that right?
Yeah.
So my $412. Now we eat that in Pop-Tarts in a given week. So I don't know how far that's going to go for us. But the $412 that we were to receive, haven't received it. So I don't even know, who do I call? Who do I reach out to? If there's any help out there, if there's a food stamp and a hotline, and technically it may not be food stamps, but that's what the program used to be called.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called now, if somebody could reach out to the Clay and Woodrow show, we would appreciate it, because I'm just
trying to figure out what they're
Was it-
called
what-
other than stamps. They're not. I know, because I know it's not
food,
stamps.
but was yours on a card, like a debit card?
Yeah.
Okay. A meal plan. I don't know what it's called, but I've not received. You didn't take mine, did you?
Not that I'm aware.
You've
of.
not been fishing through my mail, but we did not receive and we were looking forward to.
Well, I'm wondering, did it get sent to the 17th floor and they didn't know we were on the
We
11th
moved
now?
to the 11th floor,
That could be.
and
If you wanna
we might need to
take
if we did our forwarding mail address and
a jaunt
and
up
that
there
could,
to the.
that could be a stab at it as well. But there's nothing that what I look forward to in the afternoons these days, typically around 4:45, my beautiful, wonderful wife just gives me a call. Not really need anything, just that's our kind of time to say, hey, she's done with work. Not here lately. She's been coming home at 6 and 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
But normally she'll come just checking in on you, how things going. But I get more calls now from Paige Coker than I do my wife. So I get a daily
She's
call.
blowing my phone up too. She's a busy woman.
Yeah, she's blowing up my phone. And so I in the beginning of this thing, I was really in touch with these announcements, and would even hit the thing where, do you want to listen to this again? Well, yeah, I might have missed a detail.
Yeah.
And now, bless Paige's heart, I give her about 2 to 3 sentences to catch my attention, and then after that, I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. And so that's on me. And so if my kid doesn't graduate this year because I've missed one of Paige's critical communications with me, that's no one's fault but my own. But now it comes out of Arkansas. Mine says Arkansas.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I know this is my daily call from Paige.
Yeah, just
And
put
so-
it. Just put it. Just add it in your contacts as
that a little
page.
We had a comment some time ago, and we kind of let it slip by. So now we're kind of getting back to it. We just got to discussing the mall. And can I tell you something? As a realtor, when new families come into our town, and I drive them out by Trembling Earth, I'm kind of proud. That's a nice thing to show a young family, young kid, look at our facilities. And, if I drive past certain neighborhoods, it's just like, this is a really nice neighborhood. Let's swing through here. And this is beautiful. They're going to enjoy looking at this, and take them over the old Satilla River. But more than anything, man, when I drive them out to Hatcher Point Mall,
The mall of Waycross.
the Mall of Waycross.
Yeah.
I was like, man, if these folks don't come to this community now, they're crazy. Because that Hatcher Point Mall is just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place where they have the little islands of landscaping separating parking areas that have not had a bush in them now for 2 decades.
Yeah.
But they just keep out the red bark, that kind of stuff. And then you walk in and you're just like, there's 7 Cato stores in here. I don't know what Cato is. And a couple of dress barns.
I think that was some kind of sidekick in a.
And the Jacques Panet's closing.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking back in the day when I was growing up, what was out at that mall. And as a kid, everything's more impressive to you. But what are your memories of the mall? We'll take turn. What's your stores and stuff that aren't there necessarily anymore? What are your memories of the mall? Let me start. So, because I'll give you time. The cheese shop.
The cheese shop. I don't remember that one.
It was at the very end, like straight ahead at the very end. And the lady would give you samples. And look at me. Do I look like a guy that's built for some cheese samples? My little fat 12-year-old behind was down there. I was at the cheese shop. It was a smaller place. She had out just the glass case and had I mean, now you go to Kroger and you can get all those kind of different cheeses. But back in that day, you'd go to the cheese shop.
Yeah.
And so that was my favorite store. So comment down below if you remember the lady that owned the cheese shop. Sweet lady, man, she was nice, sweet lady. What about you?
So you remember? Was it Woolco or Woolworth?
Woolworth, I
It
think.
was Woolworth at
at the very end. Yes.
Yeah. I remember. Just fleeting
Yeah.
memories of that.
But now you remember aren't we roughly the same age?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the movie theater used to be inside of the mall.
Yes.
I don't know that I can tell you
Two theaters, I think.
2 theaters.
Yeah.
And I will say this, kind of opposite to the lady that was at the cheese shop. The lady that served popcorn at the theater, I was scared to death of her. And I think she was probably a nice lady.
Probably.
But as a kid, do you remember her specifically?
don't.
Oh, she was there 365 days a week operating the concessions area. And if y'all know who she is, she was just very intimidating. Like as a kid, I was just like, no thanks. I'll just go without popcorn. She's scared.
Can you imagine working at a theater around a bunch of kids?
Oh yeah,
and this had to be intimidating.
And this lady was older, at the time, but I was scared to death of her. And then the security guard. You remember Pops, the security guard?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
Okay, so Pops was there, and Pops would kind of tell you, hey, about time to head home. Time for you guys you've loitered around here, long enough.
yeah.
World Hi-Fi
Oh yeah, yeah.
records, tapes. Yeah.
Forgot about them.
I can specifically remember, was the Michael Jackson album called Beat It?
Yeah, you got me.
But you know the one, Billie
I know
Jean,
it,
Beat
yeah.
It, Thriller, all of that was on there. I can remember going to buy that album. Now, here's the funny thing is, we had something at Alice Street. All my Alice Street people, we had something called Mayday. It was real big at Alice Street, and we would do this pole Mayday dance and all this kind of stuff. But as kids, we all did a little Michael Jackson dance. We all brought one glove. Well, a local pastor in town that was of the conservative, lean, and God bless him, I don't have any, but wrote a letter to the editor, kind of saying, listen, it's not appropriate for these kids to be out here doing Michael Jackson dances, and especially because this music was brought from home by a kid, and more or less saying that kid's parents need to kind of get their act together. That was me. But he wrote this letter to the editor about my 4th grade class doing Michael Jackson at Mayday. So I bought that at World Hi-Fi. I think that was Mr. Bennett. Is that right?
I don't know. Did he own Bennett's Gibbs?
No. His name was James anyhow, super nice guy, had the beard. Could not have been a nicer guy. I will figure out who that guy was because he was really good, nice to me. And then
I heard there was I've heard about the Mayday thing.
Oh yeah, that's big at Alice Street.
And
what elementary school did you go to?
Memorial Drive.
Memorial Drive.
I was a Wildcat.
A Wildcat. I got you. Okay.
Still am.
Okay. Yeah. So, go ahead about Mayday.
But no, I know you had a queen. There was even a queen.
Oh, I don't remember that, but
A Mayday queen.
Queen might have been. But we always did it. The music to the Kermit the Frog song, "The Rainbow Connection."
Huh.
I vaguely remember that. That could be wrong as well. But there's some Alice Street folks that probably should be listening. That they can help me out with this. But we did have Mayday. Other stores, the caution light or the traffic light, because they actually had a light.
They had a traffic light.
And then they had Valentine's out at the mall as well. And then Mr. And I guess his name might have been Mr. Hopkins, but I'll go get my shoes there. It's Brent's Hopkins' grandfather. He sold me my shoes. I think Hopkins Sporting Goods or something like that. I got my shoes from Mr. Hopkins. Mm-hmm. So he was awesome, nice guy too. And then was Dad and Lad ever in the mall?
Briefly.
Were they in the mall? Mr. Mercer? Mr. Mercer's my neighbor now. He's my buddy.
I want to say right there around where Belk's is now.
Because Jacobson's used to be at the mall.
Yep.
I think Dad and Lad might have been at the mall.
Dad and Lad was downtown for a little bit, right?
They were definitely downtown, I think, as well.
And I think they opened up a shop there in the mall.
Yeah. And then I just can't. Other things, there was a jewelry store. and I can't
A
remember.
lot of jewelry
You
stores.
store right when you walk into the left, and I can't remember exactly what jewelry store that Friedman's maybe.
Friedman's, that's what it was.
Maybe it's called Friedman's right there. And what was the store right to the right that had all the gifts? That was Valentine's, wasn't it? And then they had Bennett's bookstore. Bennett's bookstore as well. That's where they would watch you like a hawk everywhere that you walked around. That was Bennett's Bennett's
and they had
bookstore.
the Hallmark cards. Was there a Hallmark?
There was a
a Hallmark
card
store.
inside of Bennett Brothers bookstore as well. And then right across the street of the parking lot, I don't know if you remember this, Bonanza.
Oh yeah,
Do you remember the Bonanza restaurant?
I do.
And-
I do. Hot place for steaks.
Yeah. But I can remember this. My brother would always get country fried steak with the white gravy, but the white gravy was just too, my brother, bless his little heart. He's not a tough guy. He would eat too much of it and always get sick.
Oh,
But he loved the white gravy at, Bonanza. And I was just like, oh, here we go again. A little softy over here is going to get sick on the way home, and his mama's got a baby, but he can't handle his country fried steak. But he'd get that country fried steak every single time. And I can even remember this. I think the manager of its name was Wilkie. His last name was Wilkie. I think I can remember that as well of Bonanza. So that's my memories of.
And that's where the mattress store is now.
now.
And it was It became Shriver's,
Shriver's.
and then now it's
the
mattress.
mattress store. That is correct. Because Shriver's used to be downtown
Yep.
as well.
Yep.
Shriver's used to be downtown. But more than anything, what's most important at downtown? Jake and Ed's.
That's right.
Well, now Jake and Ed's is at a new location. That's not the location I grew up going to Jake and Ed's. They moved kind of around the block. But Jake and Ed's has always been downtown. But that is a new location for those guys as well. So trip down memory lane. I can't remember any of the stores. If you can remember other stores at the mall,
yeah.
little Lenox Square, little Phipps Plaza right here in Waycross. It is really just an eyesore. But just kind of in the 80s, the cheese shop. You don't remember the cheese shop?
I don't remember the cheese
Man, that
shop.
was my favorite store. What's that lady's name? She's the sweetest lady. Man, she was so sweet to me. But the cheese shop, I mean, she could tell when I walked in, oh, this fat kid's going to get me for my samples, And I always got the like the pepper jack, a little spicy, to it.
I know that look. They give me the same
So-
look when they see me
yeah,
coming.
when I came walking in, she goes, we won't even break even on this cat after he gets gets all the samples. Well, you guys, our title today needs to include the cheese shop.
Yeah.
Because we'll work on the rest of it, but something and the cheese shop will be in the title.
I think that's
So
appropriate.
We'll go back there. City Redemption and the Cheese Shop. That'll be the title. You like that title?
I like it.
We're stuck with it now.
We're stuck.
You guys have a fantastic weekend. Have a good Friday as well. We're doing this on a Thursday, so you'll be seeing this Thursday evening. You guys just take care of yourself. Have a great day.
On the side, let her go.